Okay, so now we're going to get into glandular tissue. I just mentioned that epithelial tissue makes up our glandular tissue, the majority of our glandular tissue. There's obviously going to be connective tissue because anywhere you find epithelial tissue, you will find underlying areolar connective tissue as the basement membrane. And so glandular tissue is tissue that functions in secretion, so producing secretions and secreting those materials either to the surface of a lumen or to the blood. There are two basic types of glandular tissues. We have endocrine glands and then exocrine glands. So endocrine glands are ductless glands. So they don't have a duct that leads to the surface or to a lumen. So they secrete their materials directly to the blood. And the materials they secrete are called hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that are actually our body's secondary messenger system, slow-acting but very long-lasting messenger system. And we'll be talking about endocrine glands and endocrine activities next semester. Exocrine glands, though, are glands that secrete to a duct. And we talk about them this semester because they are one of the common structures that are associated with our integumentary system. So we have sweat glands, ceremonious glands, mammary glands, sebaceous glands, and salivary glands. All of these are exocrine gland tissues. Other exocrine glands are things like the glands that produce hydrochloric acid in our stomach. So those are also exocrine glandular tissue. Okay. So exocrine glands can be classified then by their different structure. We have unicellular glands and then we have multicellular glands. So here you can see a unicellular simple gland, and then you can see multicellular down here, branched and different things like that, okay? And then structurally, we can also call them tubular, coiled tubular, or branched tubular. So this is a coiled tubular, and this is a branched tubular gland, and then this is a simple tubular gland. The type of secretions that are produced depend on how the cell releases materials. So we have merocrine release, apocrine release, and then holocrine release. So most of our sweat glands produce merocrine secretions, and so a merocrine secretion is a secretion where the cells produce their materials that they're going to secrete, put it into a vesicle. The vesicle then binds to the plasma membrane of the cell and then opens up, and via exocytosis we release that material. That's merocrine secretion. Apocrine secretion is a form of exocytosis, but the material binds to the surface of the cell, so that apical surface, and then the entire apical surface of the cell pinches off. So a portion of the cell is lost in the secretion. So apocrine secreting cells are your sweat glands that are found in your axillary and pubic regions. And then we have holocrine secretions. Holocrine secreting cells, the entire cell produces the materials for release, and then the cell itself becomes the secretion. So the entire cell is lost and new cells are formed. In merocrine and in apocrine, the cells remain intact. The apical portion of the cell remains intact, or the basal portion of the cell remains intact. whereas in holocrine, the cell is destroyed and new cells are going to be produced. Okay. So here's an example of a holocrine producing gland. This is a sebaceous gland, which secretes directly into the hair follicle. So oil glands are sebaceous glands, and they secrete their oils into the hair follicle, and the oil actually helps to protect the hair and the skin. I'm going to stop here. I know this is a super tiny video, but that way I can keep my connective tissues all together and not have like another 30-minute video. Okay? All right, I will talk to you shortly.